question if someone wants to tackle Mike's question, or feel free to jump in, Candace. Sound like you're going to say
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I was just saying I saw new folks joining the channel just now, so just want to you know, give them more context. So here we are today talking about what are some new creative ideas we can make Firefly more engaging and fun for all of you. And we're starting with just creative prompts or these prompting challenge that I think most of us are slightly more familiar with. And we want to know what are some of the coolest, funniest prompt challenges you've done before, or some really bad ideas. It's also great for learning.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah, we probably have some folks here right now that participate in our daily themes on Discord, or maybe have done kind of the the Firefly ping pong, the layer tennis around too. So yeah, if anyone has experience with that, I'd love to hear, what about it's fun and what have been your most favorite prompts. And then Mike does have a question. Can Firefly allow me to remove individual characters in an image and insert new ones? So generate an image, and then I just want to replace this one image or this one character.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't gotten a chance to try it yet, there's the generative fill module. I'll grab a link to it here real quick. So I think maybe the answer is like partly. So you can definitely go and like paint directly on an image. You can remove things. It literally, you don't have to type in anything. You just hit return and it will automatically just try to remove. You can also insert things. One of the limitations at the moment is, you can't like define a specific character, specific entity, right? So if you always want to put Gus into the scene, you could describe someone with similar characteristics, but identity-wise, it'll vary a little bit. And so, like I say, that's one of the popular requests for enhancing that functionality. I'll drop a link here, which is now in the chat. So that's the in-painting module. Also, if folks here use Photoshop at all, it's substantially the same tech in generative fill in Photoshop. Of course, because things are like messy and it's a little bit early, there are some slight differences between how it works in each context. But if you haven't yet tried it in Photoshop, but you're a Photoshop subscriber, you can just go up to the menu bar. There's a little Creative Cloud app. You can pull down the beta. So we try to keep it separate just so we don't want to screw up, anything in your production stuff. But it's super easy to download. And then once you launch it, then you'll see generative fill is an option. And anyway, that's another path to being able to select something and either remove it or to insert something else. And like I say, totally hear you that being able to insert things with more specificity would be really helpful. So Carlos is saying a few fun prompts: fantasy foods, papercraft, space and time, and text words were fun. Text has proven to be fun and challenging to get the right words. Yeah, good feedback. As you guys may obviously know, when you synthesize an image, not just with Firefly, but other text to image modules, for some reason there's things that can do brilliantly well and things that it super struggles with. And text has historically been one of the latter. I find it kind of charming. I mean, obviously we want it to work well, but like particularly like when DALL-E came out, you get these just bizarre hallucinated phrases. And in the text effects module on the Firefly site, you can of course specify actual text characters and then stylize those. But it would be cool if we could do it all in one unified place. The state of the tech is like it's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, well, I see folks are still typing things in. I think I would love to show you more of like what we have in mind. Beth Ann, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, let me
There should be a button to share screen next to your camera option. If it's not there, it
yeah,
should be there
I
actually.
think I think I was discovering that whenever I have Discord full screen, it doesn't show the different applications I can share. But I have figured it out, and I'm gonna make sure I share the right thing. Classic situation.
You also share the secret stuff, and then it's like much more memorable as a story.
I was
Much more
like, well,
career limiting that way. Yeah. By the way, just while you're doing that, Mike asked, have we seen Midjourney zoom out capability? Will you do something similar? Yes. So Midjourney, for folks who haven't seen it, they added a command recently where, once you synthesize something, it's basically like if you were in Photoshop, you did, you took the crop tool and expanded the canvas, then you selected those regions and you filled it in. And so, I'm describing it in those terms because you can do exactly that in Photoshop today. Obviously, it's not as streamlined as just saying zoom out. But actually, I think yesterday Russell Brown, who you may know, longtime Adobe evangelist, put out a set of actions for Photoshop that make various things easier. In fact, you can. There's a whole digression, but you can do things like stylizing an image just using the generative fill stuff that's in Photoshop. So those actions make that easier. I can easily imagine if the actions don't already include a sort of zoom out function, that's something that we could certainly add using just kind of the building blocks that are already in the app. And so what's neat to see for us is like people coming up with these like creative applications of the core features.
We have a good number of folks that just popped in, so I do want to just again highlight that today we're discussing fun different avenues to play around in or have challenge or prompts in Firefly. And so if you've been using Firefly and you found things particularly fun or exciting, especially related to the challenges we do on Discord, we'd love to hear what those are.
Cool. And Beth Ann, were you able to share your screen? I saw it like thinking, but it never actually resolved.
Yeah, I just messaged Candace. It looks like I would have to shut down my application and do a whole thing. This is being kind of my first time on Discord. So I was curious if someone else could take it this time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I have the folder open, but do you have the sketches in there as well?
Yeah, I uploaded all of my stuff.
Cool. Let me see if I can share.
I put the videos of the designs in the image basher folder.
All right. Yeah, you know what? Because I just downloaded my Discord. That's
All
not bad. Okay, John.
No problem.
it's
All right,
not.
Ken. All right.
This is the
We
nose
can do
goes
this.
moment.
Setting thing.
I believe in us. Okay. So Beth Ann, you said you put stuff in. Okay, let's do.
Oh.
3 strikes and you're out, but I think we got this. I've shared before. All right, so let me just move which monitor I'm targeting.
Okay, John, while you do your thing, let's take a look another look at the things people have been posting. So
Sure.
yeah, misspelling. I think I definitely saw this like misspelled words challenge where you kind of misspell things and then the results you get are actually pretty charming. So yes, definitely we will keep an eye on that idea.
Yeah,
And
there's all these like classic meme patterns where it's like, change a letter, ruin a band, that kind of thing.
yeah.
And so yeah, that's that kind of pattern I think is really fun.
For folks that are watching, you should see a screen now that John's sharing. If it's small for you, you'll click on it and it'll enlarge it so you can actually see what's going on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll pass the mic and I'm happy, just tell me which things to click. There's, as you can see, there's a lot we would love to show you. I know we only have a short amount of time, but yeah, just kind of notion is like Adobe is generally really good at like what and how, right? Like, oh, well, what tools do we need and how should you use them? One of the things that we're not usually great at is why. Like, okay, but like, what would I do with this? Like, why would I use Firefly? And I think we have the opportunity to bring a lot of people into this pretty magical world of generative imaging if we give folks like a little bit more of a running start, a little bit more sort of editorial opinion on like, hey, the challenge for today is X, right? And like, here's some ingredients. Today we can do that with prompt challenges. And of course, all you need is to type something in, which is great. And we'll certainly keep that going. But what's neat is with a tech stack, there's suddenly like all these other ingredients that you'll be able to mix in. So you may have seen, we have this project called Gingerbread, which is all about like mixing in 3D elements. And it's like, oh, if we did that, what could we do? Or, if you could upload a picture of yourself or your friend, and then you could apply some prompts to that, what kind of creative things could you do? And then how would we create like interesting challenges and really engaging experiences on top of that? So those are the kind of things we're just starting to really explore. And we'd love to get your get your feedback on. So Beth Ann, do you want to take the mic and I'll drive?
Sure thing. If we go to, for the first thing, if we go to image mashups,
Okay.
then we can, at least to set some context for some of the stuff we're talking about, the things that actually bring the challenges and the kind of like creative prompting into the experience. We're going to show you a little bit that we threw together. Let's do image mashup, the first video. Yeah.
Okay. And should I, yeah, it's playing. Let me know when I should pause or.
Can you pause really quick?
Sure.
Okay. So this is in the instance that if you think of any sort of classic generative AI meme where it is taking one, two, or more things, pushing them together, and then creating something that you wouldn't expect or something that you can kind of play around with and tweak. And if you were to have something like that and a space to do that in, something that is kind of helping you, like urging you to do this, there's that level of it. So let's, we can look at that and play really quick. And so then, yeah, classic experience. But then if you wanted to go a step further and you want even more creative constraints, you don't even know what the first image would be, what the second image would be. And so you kind of need some fun challenge sort of thing that, like, what this is, as an example, is I've named it Opposites Attract because it is specifically like, we'll give you one picture and then your challenge is to think of whatever you think the opposite of that picture is. And then you write a prompt to generate that picture, and then you get to see what those two things might look like together. This is a pretty simple example of just like a general activity. Like you could picture kind of more game-like things, different prompts, but yeah, that's sort of the type of thing that we're talking about, right? Anything else to add, John or Candace?
No, not specifically. So if you go to firefly.adobe.com, we have this little sizzle reel, again from March, which feels like 4 lifetimes ago. But this is one of the things we kind of touch on is this notion of like, hey, you take image A, B, and C, and like let the system take a crack at mashing them together, and like maybe you could play with some parameters. But the notion here is like, yeah, we'll give you a hot air balloon. Think of something else. Like think of something that would go well with it, or something the opposite, and then like, what would those look like together? And then these are real results, from the tech, just mashing up those two images. And then, this is the kind of thing where we just want to like start whetting your appetite about, okay, if you had these frameworks and they tap into the tech in a more directed way, what are some of the fun challenges that might result? Should I go to the next vid?
Sure. And then this is an example, just another example of us kind of providing some structure, providing the things that kind of gets your creative juices flowing. And this one is more about like, if we were to provide you 3 different things, then you have to think about what to assemble. So yeah, we can just watch it. It's
okay. No, they're all super
simple.
quick. So yeah, you're picking
the
ingredients and then letting it generate. It says robot reading, listening to music, colorful stars, I think.
Yeah.
Here, let me let it play again because it's so quick. So yeah, it's like, as I understand it, like either you, the human, could go pick images, or we can kind of like slot machine these together, and then
Right.
they populate, and it's like, oh, I either like this, let me see what would happen, or let me swap one out, or let me roll again, and I could get 3 new ones. Then, based on that input, you can let the algorithm take a crack at it, and mix in your own prompt. And that might be part of the fun. It's just like being creative with like, okay, maybe you're stuck with these 3 ingredients, but the degree of freedom is the prompt. Like we can kind of play with those different sort of like game mechanics.
Right.
And then you let it run, you hit generate, and then you get these like 4 up kind of interesting compositions, taking those 3 ingredients plus what you added to it.
Yeah. And I threw it up there as a really kind of scrappy approach to it, but if you look and see the little thingy that says inspo, how would you combine this image, these image ingredients to make an album cover? Whether it's that way or not, that could be another tier of if you're just sitting there and you don't know what to do, something within the experience to kind of just start shooting different ideas out at you and help you kind of think, okay, if I'm within this context, if I have to think within this, or ooh, that idea, I didn't think about that. Now I'm thinking of it's building and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we're playing with notions like, you know, if things can be sort of like recognizably within a genre, then it's sort of fun to see how other people riff on it. Maybe just, I know, just always being mindful of time. I told you guys this would go way faster than we ever expect. Let me go up a level and show you some of the other things we've been looking at. So let me go to gingerbread. And so, you know, 3D is an amazing thing. It's usually inherently pretty intimidating to most people, even to me. Like, there's so many things that could get wrong. What's cool at gingerbread is really it's just an ingredient that you're mixing into image creation. So you're just taking some primitive, you know, like it could be a ball, it could be a donut shape, it could be whatever, and then you're just describing the scene that you want to see. So you don't have to screw around with like textures and lighting and all the stuff that's like makes 3D inherently complicated. This is an example where, you know, I just dragged in this little torus shape, right? The donut. I was like, oh, what does that look like? What could I think of? And I was like, oh, what if it was a bunch of delicious jelly donuts? Let me see if I can go image to image. Oh, come on, Microsoft. And then I was like, well, what if it was interpreted differently? So same exact scene layout, but I just gave it a different prompt. And I was like, oh, make it a bunch of inner tubes sitting, you know, alongside a river or on the water. And so you could imagine a creative challenge where maybe we come in and we're like, hey, here are 1, 2, or 3 shapes that you can use. And then, you know, you come up with like, what do you think would be the most creative application of those? You know, in my case, I chose donuts. And then just to have fun with it, after I made those, I clicked, okay, open this in generative fill. I clicked one more button to automatically select the background. And then I said, you know, inner tubes on water or donuts on water. I forget exactly the prompt. But it just generated all these interesting variations based on top of that. Donuts. Yeah, and I think that there was a question like, can you get the meshes out? So I should be clear, no. So there is technology in development which is text to 3D, where you're actually, you know, synthesizing meshes. This is kind of going the opposite way. It's 3D to image. And so it's saying, as one of the things, you know, you could do a 2D sketch, you could do a 3D object. Those things are just giving some constraints to Firefly. You're like, oh, I specifically want things here, here, and here. But then you're still bringing in the prompt as like a high level concept. And so let me show you another potentially interesting application of that. So again, with just these simple things, I was thinking, well, okay, what could I do using just that sort of donut shape? And maybe I just add in a ball. And as I was rotating, I was like, oh, that kind of actually looks like a sea creature in the water. So let me just kind of like drag this around, give him a head. Typed in an intimidating sea monster rising from a dark and stormy sea, hit generate, thinks about it for a few seconds, and now I have a sea monster, right? And so you could go among these. Now I didn't put in any constraints around like style. Obviously, all that stuff you could layer in additionally. But really, again, you're just kind of giving Firefly more of an intentional starting place. And so then the challenge experiences could be, you know, like, yeah, it's almost think of like Iron Chef. You know, it's like, all right, we're going to give you some paprika, some mayonnaise, and some kale, or like, oh, I can't cook, right? But like some small number of ingredients, and then you see the chef's creativity come out based on that challenge, right? So there's another example with the sea monster. And so somebody's asking what software. So this is something we haven't released. It's basically just a little experimental mode of Firefly that we're thinking about, where one of the ingredients that you can mix in alongside text and styles is geometry. But again, trying to keep it really simple. It's not supposed to be Maya or Blend or anything like that. You're just supposed to be able to like populate a scene with a couple of simple shapes. Oh, I see some donuts appearing. Adobe. Okay, that actually looks really good, and I would like to know how you made that. Rock on. I think there's a donut emoji, but I can't find it the second. All right, keep rocking. If you know, Candace, Beth Ann, you got other stuff, please throw her in there. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep rocking. Here's one. Our teammate. Oh, go ahead. I'll throw this in there.
I was just going to check with you to see if there was going to be time to just mention the hide and seek one.
Yeah,
but...
totally. I mean, I don't think there's any hard limit. It's just,
Okay.
I know people have to, you guys might have other meetings. We got to bounce, but yeah, we can do that in just a second. Since I happen to have this up. So this is Davis, Russell's son. He happens to also be an amazing designer. He's working on Photoshop and just selected everything but his face, right? So what you'll see image after image is he kept that constant, but then they just varied the prompts. And so it was like, here, it's like a man happily, on vacation in Hawaii. Then it was like, here's a man, eating pizza in Chicago. Here's a man on a fishing trip, just caught a big fish. And here's the fourth one. It's like a man, holding a baguette in Paris. And so you can see it's always the same face. It's always the same guy. The only thing that's changing is the selection, or sorry, not even the selection, but just the prompt. And then based on that, you can get these really visually different results. So, you can imagine a challenge, which is like, all right, take a picture of yourself and like go on a virtual vacation. What would that look like? Another treatment might be, where do I have it? Virtual vacation, make someone a statue. So you can imagine something where it's like, you could start with having an image. So here, happening to have this picture of this woman. And based on that, you could say like, okay, I actually want to turn her into a bronze statue. Like, how would that look? So again, in the one case we were using 3D as an ingredient. Here we're using a photo as an ingredient plus the prompt. And then you could say like, well, that's cool, but like, what if there was a Mad Libs sort of interface where it's like, well, now, the only thing I'm going to change is the ingredients. So instead of being bronze, it's going to be, she's made of chocolate, or, maybe I'll go back and here she's actually made of marble. So a result like that. But sorry, Beth Ann, do you want to talk about the hide and seek idea?
Well, I guess I won't go into too much detail about it. I saw someone in the chat kind of even throughout, just even hearing that maybe said this like reverse I Spy game, like that's basically getting at it. There's lots of different options, but I'd be curious to just know how people would feel about challenges like that. Like if there was something that kind of it challenged you to add more detail to prompts so that you're hiding something, or like a co-creator had to find it, or anything that's around that is both fun and a game, but also kind of helping you navigate how to create better prompts. Like it's skill building and fun. I'd just be curious to know if there's interest in that when it comes to usefulness and I don't know, in building skills or just having fun as its own usefulness in general. It was a very long-winded question, and maybe there's a way I can say it more concisely in the chat. Yeah, I'm gonna restate it.
Sure.
I also wanted to mention we have like a lot of new folks watching, and so if you don't know and you've never joined a Hangout before, there's a chat. You may not see it right away. It's in the top right corner. See a little box. There's a little red symbol next to it. If you click on that, you'll see where everybody's communicating right now. So that's where you can share ideas with us.
And just to explain what the heck I'm showing, this is again, if you can use just even it doesn't even be a photo, just like an incredibly simple sketch. Anybody goes way back, remember maybe a Trogdor the Burninator was a whole thing. But feeding that into the engine just to say, okay, now make a painting or a drawing based on my sketch. Like what could you do based on that? And again, like there could be some interesting potential creative challenges where you have this as a constraint, either like, all right, here's this one sketch. Now what can you make with that? Or maybe here's a recipe. You do your own sketch. What comes out the other side? Where instead of giving like just unlimited freedom, which is great if you just want to party and make your own thing, the sort of like game-like or challenge-like part is like, okay, we constrain a bunch of the pieces of the puzzle, but then within those creative constraints, what can you accomplish?
Yeah, John, maybe you also want to show the robot thing, because that's also one of my favorites.
Sure. Yeah, so our teammate Dave does these amazing little robot guys, and he usually does them in like really high fidelity. Just for fun, he did one where it's like an incredibly simple sketch in the upper left. And then by feeding in different prompts was able to be like, oh, here's this sort of like psychedelic, metallic guy, or here's a like more photorealistic metallic guy with a city, or here's a version of the robot made out of wood. And so again, using Firefly generally, you'll, knock wood, all these are, unannounced features that aren't committed, yada, yada. But assuming we were to do something like this, you'd have total freedom to mix and match as you like. What we're interested here is like, can we draw people in and make it really fun, whether you're experienced or whether you're a newcomer, and make it where just by saying, okay, draw a very simple thing and then try one of these recipes. What's the coolest thing you can get out? Or maybe draw anything you want, and then you can try different recipes. Or maybe it's always the same drawing. It could be it could be a famous logo. It could be an image of a well-known person. But then you're trying different creative treatments on top of that. Those are the kind of like little, I don't want to call them a game per se, because it's not like we're keeping score and it's not meant to be like really competitive. It's more just to kind of inspire people in the same way a prompt challenge does, or in the same way like Photoshop tennis does, where it's like, oh, that's cool. But like, that inspires me to do something different I hadn't thought of. Like, let me now kind of take what you did and riff on it and send it on back. So that's the sort of thing where we'd love to get feedback. And in today, we're really just kind of like planting these seeds. We'd love to come back in like, couple weeks, show you some more ideas along these lines. Get your feedback on which ones seem like more fun than others, and which ones are like more likely to help you build skills that you'd want to take forward.
Yeah, and for folks who are just joining, we're talking about what are the other fun and engaging experience that we can build. So throw your ideas into our chat bot, and yeah, we'll be definitely collecting all those amazing ideas and see what other, game-like experience we can build.
Yeah, I'll throw one of these. Are not images we made. I just I searched the web for like swaggy pets, and people love stuff with kids. They love stuff with pets. You've got tools like generative fill, where you can just like paint a region. We also have some cool tech. It's not out yet, but like can automatically select things like find somebody's shirt and like change that shirt from cotton to leather or something like that. Or here find somebody's hair and change their hair. And it could be an interesting exercise to like take pet photos and like leverage those capabilities. Here it's like, all right, I want to replace somebody's head with my dog's head, or maybe I've got a picture of my dog, but I want to select everything except their body, or sorry, except their face, and then change that to be something else. Or I don't know, again, you can tell we're like making these up as we go, but we want you to help give us some guidance on like what would make this rewarding. It's like, yeah, figure out like upgrade your pet's mode of transportation. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. Let's figure it out. And it's like, okay, in this case, somebody put roller skates on the dog. That's kind of creative. You could imagine a jet ski. You could imagine a hang glider. Could just be like, hair salon. And I know some of the stuff seems kind of frivolous. The hope with it is like, A, it's fun just as like a little creative challenge or exercise. But B, what you're doing is actually like really gaining skills using the tech, and then you can apply that to your real work. So it's kind of like going to, I think it was like going to CrossFit as opposed to like just the normal gym. It's like, at least with something like CrossFit, it's like, hey, here's the challenge of the day. You're gonna like do a handstand, and then you're gonna ride this bike. But what you're doing is like obviously getting stronger. It's just in a more entertaining way. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna like take this tutorial and then I gotta like walk through this thing. It's actually more like, oh, this was a bit more of a playful experience. So I haven't been able to look at the chat in the last couple minutes because I've been talking and showing things. Other folks, any interesting highlights, things we want to call out?
Yeah, we've had chat's been really busy, and so I'm trying my best to keep up with it and respond. It seems like this has inspired a lot of people. I think that's just showing, and really just John, you sharing some of your thoughts has been super helpful. I did have one idea which I think sounded really fun. It was around like maybe having some sort of like collaborative community workspace. I'm trying to find the comment now. It's a little bit up a ways. Yeah, sense of like collective creation, I think seemed to be exciting for folks in the chat.
Reddit did that. I think, yeah, Reddit. Yeah, the single pixel thing.
Yeah,
I was also thinking of it just now.
exactly. Or like maybe the challenge of the day could be influenced by the community. Like maybe there's a trend of people like we could maybe diagnose on our side, like, is there a trend going on right now? Are people doing similar things? And if so, like that could then feed into like real-time prompts or some adjustment to what we're suggesting to folks that's at some level, like based off of what's relevant that day or that week. Something like that would be, I think, kind of fun because it's driven
Yeah.
by the use of the tool itself.
Yeah, I think we totally agree. I mean, for me, it's like the super silly thing, but like I go on Twitter, I see things trending. Usually they don't have anything to do with each other, but sometimes they're like, weird juxtapositions where I'm like, what if you took all of those three things and just like fed them in together? And it was like, um, it's Keanu Reeves, Peter Thiel, Chernobyl. And it's like, oh, I actually got like fun, weird results out of that. And so it's just my version of like a little slot machine. But like you could imagine community powered challenges like that. Or as you're seeing for folks who didn't see it the first time when I showed it, examples where we'd have this like framework of a mashup and we give you a challenge like, here's image A, come up with image B, or you can bring in somebody's likeness and then do something relative to that. So anyway, well, I know
There
we're
was
over time.
another interesting comment, John,
Yeah,
that I felt like
go ahead.
maybe worth bringing up, and it was this idea that like sometimes with generative AI right now, it feels a little bit like a catch-up game. Like you only have time to learn so much in your week,
Yeah,
especially if like learning Adobe's tools is like something you do as a hobby or use it in the margins of your time. And so I think then the other side, that was the point that was made. So the other side of that coin is like, how do we on our side, thinking about challenges and prompts, create things that require very minimal lift for people? Like if anything, it allows them to learn things more quickly and makes it more accessible and easier to understand, in a way that doesn't feel like onerous or like that we're putting on a new burden of like, oh wait, there's this whole new thing out there that I've got to now learn about and figure out how to use in my workflow. So
yeah,
I thought that was kind of
exactly.
interesting.
Exactly. Let me actually just, if folks have a few more minutes, and obviously you can bounce whenever if you need to, but yeah, let me just kind of give you an example of that because like I think a pattern that's been really successful so far is giving folks just like really simple starter content. And you can imagine with, like, again, with 3D, it's like you say 3D and it's like, I don't know, my heart kind of skips a beat because I'm like, it's going to be amazing, but I don't know if I can handle it or make anything useful of it. But you could imagine something where it's like, no, we literally just like give you a scene with one object in it. And so here, I'm going to click this guy and it gives me the geometry. And if I want, obviously I can change that or I can drag in new stuff. It also gives me a prompt which says a beautiful gingerbread castle over a green field, right? And if I want, I can go over and I can start adding in style constraints if I like. But literally with just that little seed, we should get an interesting result here in a second. So all of this stuff like not ready to ship yet, but we've shown some of it publicly, so this is just kind of showing a little bit of progress. I see Mike's comment. It'd be cool to see the dog in roller skates animated. Totally agree. Should we always have to keep
Yeah, there's
moving
been
the
a lot
goalpost.
of requests for both animations, so like bringing things into motion, and then also obviously text to video or some element of video is really exciting to people.
Right. Well, hopefully this will work for me. If it doesn't, you'll know why we're not shipping it yet. But at least you get the idea, which is like, okay, like you could kind of do anything here. I could say a beautiful, what if I just change this real quick and see if it works? Beautiful chocolate castle. All right. Well, oh, shoot. I screwed it up. All right. Let me try one more time. But hopefully this will give you like motivation to come back in a couple of weeks. Next week we'll be off, just folks celebrating 4th of July here in the US. Hopefully other folks get a little time away from work. But knock wood, this will go. I know if I actually knock on wood, my dog will freak out because I tried that last time. So I live and learn. Beth Ann said she had some rogue cats, which may make an appearance, but so far they haven't.
It sounds like from the things that we've shared so far, the image mashup, folks seem to be pretty excited about that, along with what you're showing right now, John, the gingerbread and kind of the ingredients. So those are two that kind of stood out. And in general, it sounded like people were interested in collaboration, really low barrier to entry, being introduced to new tools in a way that's intuitive. Those seem to be kind of the themes that popped up for me, at least. I will say, just before we head out, we have a lot of folks watching and a lot of people that join. We intend to do this more. We try to do it every week, so please be on the lookout for these hangouts. But in the in between, we're also just hanging out on Discord. So at any point, like if you have a good idea or something that we should be thinking about or doing, please share it. We have the forum section. It's right under the chat channels. If you just create a thread, a post around whatever your idea is, or maybe search for posts that are related to what you think and maybe upvote them. That's really important for us. Like we track it on a weekly basis, and it helps like figure out how we want to prioritize some of our efforts. So please do that.
Yeah, and exactly on that note, I just put in another plug for the page where you can go and it's not in Discord, but you just click out to the Adobe Community Forum and you can file ideas there. So that's super helpful to us. And like I say, you know, when we go to our managers, you know, it's like, yeah, see, this is why, not that they don't believe us inherently, but like, it's great to have some data. Be like, yeah, people really would like to be able to mix in an image as one of the ingredients, or, you know, they really want to save favorites. Getting your feedback, by the way, that was really helpful in prioritizing favorites. We have a ton of additional ideas on top of that, so stay tuned. But yeah, like literally this dialogue is what helps us like shape the product in the ways you want. All right, gang. Well, hey, it's Friday. We should let people get on with the rest of Friday. But thank you so much for your time. And
Beth Ann, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
John, always a pleasure.
This is great.